welcome to this combining of functions. And we're going to look first of all at the filter instruction. What I've done is I've pulled the data that we've had before and I've added 2 columns to this. So I've got the financial details we had before, and I've added an authorization area and an authorization date there. And that's purely so we can see the result of what we're trying to achieve here. I've got a box here, which I'm going to put the word finance in, and that's what the item we're going to look for. And we're just going to use the filter. So equals filter. Take the array, well, that's all of this. What am I going to look for? Well, I want to look down the departments, and what I'm looking for is anything that's equal to there. Now, this if empty, remember, is if when whatever is in this box is finance. If I put there duck, there are no ducks in department, so this will come back as empty. So I'd get an error. So I can always put something for there. I'm not interested in the if empty, so I'm going to do that. And I've got zeros there because I've got these empty spaces there. So I want to deal with that. I want to put something in so I can see something there. So what I can do then is I can build an if statement. So I could say, well, if open brackets is blank. So if the item we're looking for, if the item from this function is blank, then what I want to do is I want it to just return nothing at all. Otherwise, I want it to, well, now I've got to do the filter again. Filter, open brackets, this array, comma, this column equals that, close brackets, then close brackets, and that should give me all the close brackets. And if I do that, that now works. But look at that formula. I mean, it's horrible. So the thing with this is it's not helpful, and the chance of me getting something wrong is quite clear. So how can we resolve that? Well, this is where the let comes in. Let's have a look at that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go back to here, and I'm simply going to say, right, okay, let. Now, I'm just going to bring this down a little bit on the formula bar so you can click and extend the formula bar. So all I did was go down to the edge until it turned to that arrow, clicked and dragged that down. And that just gives me a little bit of a clearer view. Then all I'm going to do is move the cursor just before the is blank. I'm going to hold down the Alt key on my keyboard. You can see all these little icons have come up because these are shortcuts. But all I'm going to do is press the Enter. While holding down that Alt key, I'm just going to press the Enter key. And that takes the formula down a line, which just makes it a little bit nicer to work with. So what I'm going to do here, in fact, I wanted to do that there, but so Alt, Enter brings that down. So what I'm then going to do is go here and I'm going to type in let. That's where the let wants to come in. And what I'm going to do is let's call this search item, comma. Now the search item is going to be this cell here. So that's easy enough. I'm going to hold down Alt and go down. In fact, what I'm going to do is just move the cursor to the next line down, just before that if. And now what I'm going to do is we're going to come up with another item. So Alt, press that down, just go to that little gap there. And then all I'm going to do is we're going to do the search range. Now, what is the search range? Well, that's actually what we've got here. That's going to be our filter, open brackets, this table here, comma, this column here, equals. But now what we can do is we don't have to say this cell. We can now use our search item. So we've used that variable name in our function for filter. So I'm going to close the brackets off for filter and then a comma. Now all I've got to do is deal with this if statement. Just to tidy that up a bit, I'm just going to press the backspace button on my keyboard, the button just above the Enter key, just to bring that in line. So if is blank, I now don't need all of this because we've got it. So inside the is blank, I only need to say search range. And the same thing is true for this whole section here. I can use the variable name that I've got, that let name, to go in there. And that is a lot neater to see. If I now press enter, oh, I've missed out a brackets. It's just correcting the brackets at the end there. Really nice. I've only got one, and I should have closed off the let because I'm only closing off the if. Yes, that's perfectly correct. So yes, and now I've got the blank there. So I can shorten the formula. It's not shorter, but it's neater. It is shorter as well, but it's neater because I'm using these names here. This search range has replaced these two here, and the search item there is being used there. And that's a lot neater indeed. So hopefully that's really useful. What I'm going to do now is press escape and just click away. So there's that part. Now let's look at another bit. So let's now see about merging our unique. Now let's remember what our unique does first of all. If I equal unique and I simply select this part here, close the brackets and press enter, I get a unique list of everything I want here. So that's really, really useful. What I'm going to want to do is a drop down list. So what I'm going to do just down here is just go to, first of all, let's put a border in there so we don't forget it. In fact, what we will do is go to here. At the moment, we've got the word finance in there, but let's just use that. Let's just go to our insert and, data and data validation. We're going to create a list, and here, now normally to have that list of items, I'd click there and select the whole lot. But this might grow or whatever, and this is a spill, so I don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do is something we haven't tried before. I'm going to click there. So I've just taken the top of the list. Remember, that's where the formula is. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the hash symbol right after the address, and that says use all of this. So I'm now going to press enter, click on OK, and now I've got a drop down with everything in there. And we know that if I decide to add Bob to the list, and Bob works in Department B, we've already seen that's now been added to our list here. But what about here? And there it is there. I've now got that list. So now I can go back to here. Let's just put some figures in, just something like that. This is Department B. So let's now put Ruby in charge of that. And this was on the 12th of the 12th, 2021, whatever. The really good thing is that I can now change this, choose Department B, and that already appears. That's really helpful. Oh, by the way, I want to reduce this. One way is to click in there, right click, and then choose collapse formula bar. It's all done for you. So we've just seen a new feature we hadn't seen before, which is that hash marker. So what else can we do with this thing? Well, let's just explore this a little bit further. So imagine now that we want to have another list. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to insert a couple of columns here, just give myself a bit of space. And why don't I now use the filter function? So why don't I go equals filter? Filter what? Well, let's filter the array, which is, we're going to choose this one here. Now it wants our include, which is going to be the department, equal to whatever we've put into this cell here. I'm going to close the brackets and press enter. And obviously Ruby is the only one in that department who can authorize anything. But if I go to finance, I've got Kabir turns each time. Well, obviously I might want to tidy that up a little bit, and I've got this here. But now what I've got is an opportunity. So let me just go to here and do the data validation. So I've got a list again. This is looking at that point there. But what I'm going to do is just redefine this list. So get rid of that. Click on the first one there, put the hash symbol, press enter, click OK. And this list now will depend upon whatever I select here. If I do that, this one's going to change as well. And that's really good. But what's really cool is if we use the unique, because I can use a spill on the spill. So we've got a spill here, which is based upon this spill here. But there's nothing wrong with me saying, well, look, what about using a unique system here? This array here. Again, let's not push this, let's just put the hash there to say that whole spill, close brackets, and now I've got a unique list. So now it's pulling everything in that I want, and I've got that. All I've got to do now is change this to say, well, don't look there, but look there. And again, just in case it grows a bit longer, let's do that one. So there we go. When we click on there, we can now change this part here to, let's say, stock. We get Amwar, and this one, which I'm going to put a border around, gives me Amwar. But just in case you think it's coming from that one, let's just choose finance, and we can see Kabir, and we've got the 0 there. If we go there, we've only got these items from this list here. Now, clearly, we've got a 0 here, and we could tidy that out as well. But that's only because there's a blank here, and we've already seen how to do that just up here. So there are a number of things that we could do to resolve all this. But using these functions, honestly, to do this kind of drop down here and restrict it, and then to have a sub-menu in previous versions of Excel was really difficult. You needed to get into coding. To do this now, these are really powerful. So hopefully that's been really informative. Hopefully you've enjoyed that part. What I'd like to do next is just extend that into a couple more areas and see where we got to. See you in the next video.